Hello, dear authors and invited guests. Welcome to the technical session 5B. Very good afternoon. And it is my great pleasure to welcome you to the fifth International Conference on Information and Communication Technology for Intelligent Systems through Zoom on behalf of ICTIS 2021 and Global Knowledge Research Foundation. We are thankful to everyone present on this platform to go along with us digitally for the conference in this unpredictable circumstances of COVID-19 and making this conference more productive. Also, we wish everyone and their families a very protected time and we all will together pass this soon. We hope you will enjoy the last day of the knowledgeful and interactive sessions. So just before we get started, I would like to introduce you all to the chair of this session, Dr. Mahesh Bundele. Dr. Bundele is a principal and director at Purnima College of Engineering, Jaipur. His research interests are variable and pervasive computing, artificial intelligence, software-defined networking, and wireless sensor networks. Dr. Bundele has organized and chaired many IEEE, ACM, and Springer international conferences and workshops, and delivered keynote addresses and has more than 100 publications to his credit. Thank you so much, sir, for chairing the session.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, I would like to start with papers. Also, there is a special note for presenters. They will get 8 minutes for their presentation. 2 minutes will be for Q&A, and on the 7 minutes, we will raise a gentle reminder. And I request everyone, while the presentation is going on, other participants kindly be muted. So I'm starting with our first presentation. Our first presenter is Mr. Sarjil Shariar. His presentation is about parallel computation of Hadamard product for dynamic dataset on Google Colab. Hello, Sarjil. Yes, you can
Good
start.
afternoon. Thank you. I am starting my sharing screen. Sir, is it available?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. So I am Shardil Shahriar, master's student of Khulna University of Engineering and Technology, Kuwait, Bangladesh, and my co-author is KM Azharul Hassan, professor of Khulna University of Engineering and Technology, Kuwait, Bangladesh. My paper topic is parallel computation of Hadamard product for dynamic dataset on Google Colab. This is the outline of my presentation. Introduction, problem statement, objective, scalable Hadamard product SSDP, parallel computation on SSDP, performance analysis, experimental results, and then conclusion. Hadamard product is an important
I suppose
tool for
presenter should keep at least video on.
So
Otherwise,
actually, sir, my web camera is not working properly.
Otherwise, it will look like recorded.
Sir, actually, sir, my web camera is not working properly. That's why, sir, I have shut it off.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Hadamard product is an important tool for many real-life applications such as machine LSTM, multimodal learning, object recognition, segmentation, etc. Actually, Hadamard product indicates the element-wise multiplication between tensors and demands the equal number of row and column setup. In the figure 1, I have showed the Hadamard product on the base of matrix. We can see that the element-wise product has created the Hadamard product operation. Actually, to hold this Hadamard product, traditional multi-way array is mainly the carrier of the multidimensional model with n index variables. But this TMA model has some limitation, such as fixed index variable length, contiguous memory allocation, and smaller stack size. Also, in the TMA, the dynamic dataset cannot be used for the lack of expansion ability. The Hadamard product has the high dimensionality factor, but it can degrade the performance of the Hadamard product operation. Also, the traditional sequential scheme is much slower to meet the demand of the huge data processing. Therefore, we need some advanced scheme to process the huge amount of data. Therefore, my objective is to implement a scalable scheme named Scalable Hadamard product, that is SHDP, for the high order tensor. In this model, I will transform the n-dimensional scheme into a two-dimensional scheme. Also, this model will allow dynamic expansion of the dimension for utilizing the dynamic dataset. Later, I will propose an efficient parallel algorithm on this SHDP scheme for the parallel Hadamard product operation using GPU device. I will maintain the dynamic load balance in our algorithm in the with dynamic partitioning. Scalable Hadamard product SHDP structure will be constructed with matrix-based two-dimensional dynamic subarray of size row length and column length. Basically, this row length is obtained by the multiplication of odd length, and the column length is obtained by the multiplication of even length. I have showed the equation here. With this equation, I will convert the n-dimensional size into the two-dimensional size. In SHDP, the dimension length can be extended with the execution in runtime, which makes the better use of dynamic dataset. Also, using the heap memory for dynamic allocation is a big advantage for the larger memory utilization in SHDP. To construct and expand the array, we need some pointers, such as index pointer maintains the increased index variable value, extended dimension pointer maintains the extended dimension number, auxiliary table pointer maintains the table index number for the row and column dimension, and the coefficient pointer contains the coefficient values with the following equation. In the figure 2, I have showed the scalable array. We can see that the subarray has been expanded later, so it can be used for the future maintenance of the Hadamard product operation. First, with this SHDP scheme, I will retrieve it sequentially. Later, I will go on the parallel scheme. To retrieve this sequentially, I will follow these steps. We can see to retrieve any individual value from the n-dimensional scheme, we first search for the maximum row and column value. Comparing these values with IP, we obtain the EDP, and later comparing with EDP, we obtain ATP for the row and column dimension. We multiply the coefficient pointers values of the two ATPs with the n-dimensional row and column values. This will give us the two-dimensional index. Later on, we will add them and we will conduct the element-wise product operation sequentially. In the figure 3, I have showed the scalable Hadamard product operation. This is different than traditional. We can see this is segmented operation, so we can allocate this dynamically in our memory, but in the TMA model we cannot do that. So it's a great advantage for a larger memory utilization. The parallel computation on SHDP, I have divided the total algorithm in two parts: CPU segment and GPU segment. Basically, CPU segment calculates the total number of element-wise product NE for each thread and the extra product ED after the equal load distribution. The product operations are distributed such a way that each thread contains equal number of element-wise product. Later, we will launch the parallel kernel with the number of threads in block and the number of blocks in grid with the parallel CUDA, that is compute unified divide architecture model. Here I have shown the CPU segment in the algorithm 1. We can see that I have taken 24,000 thread number, maximum thread number, and thread per block at 128. But in the real life applications, the number of thread will be huge. And here I have showed the GPU segment. Actually, GPU segment finds the particular element-wise product for the particular thread by the thread indexing and block indexing. With the running thread number Tn and the previously computed NE and ED, we find the particular n-dimensional indices for the running thread. Then we use the dimension conversion technique that I have said before, that will transform the n-dimensional indices into two-dimensional indices by dimconv function. Here I have showed the GPU segment of the parallel scheme in algorithm 2. And finally, we will retrieve the elements with these two-dimensional indices simultaneously by the GPU device. And finally, then we will execute the element-wise product operation of the retrieved data and complete the parallel process. I have shown that whole parallel process in the figure 4. We can see first we have taken the three-dimensional indices, and every thread converts these three-dimensional indices into two-dimensional index. And later I have conducted the Hadamard product, and this process is retrieving the data simultaneously. That will reduce the execution time very largely. I have simulated our algorithm on Google Colab. Google Colab basically a service provided by Google, and it has this. I have showed the configuration. It has platform cloud VM. Its GPU is Tesla T4, and its VRAM is GDDR6 16GB. CPU is Intel Xeon. Its clock speed is 2 GHz. Cache memory is 56 MB. Hard disk is 30 GB. Operating system is Ubuntu, and compiler is NVCC. The parallel algorithm has been implemented using CUDA C language. The CUDA scheme is executed on a heterogeneous computing environment that is consisted of CPU, also called host, and GPU, also called device, where they both have their own separated memory. I have contacted the sequential Hadamard product and parallel Hadamard product based on the dimension number 4 to 12 and the thread number 6,000 to 18,000. We can see in the figure that with the increase of the dimension number, the execution time is very high in the sequential Hadamard product. But in the parallel Hadamard product, with the increase of the thread number, it is very reduced and it is very low than the comparing with the sequential Hadamard product. And in this figure, I have showed the comparison between the parallel Hadamard product on based on different threads. We can see that with the increase of the threads, the execution time is reduced, and therefore, with the less processing time and efficient load distribution, we can achieve a significant speed up. And we can see the speed up is very high with the increase of the dimension number and thread number. So I am almost at the end of my presentation.
Sorry to interrupt.
So here is a summary. Okay. To store the n-dimensional dynamic dataset of Hadamard product, I have implemented a scalable structure, namely SHDP. This SHDP scheme transforms the n-dimensional indices to two-dimensional indices. And as the processing large volume Hadamard product on high order tensors can be challenging in terms of execution time, therefore we have implemented a parallel scheme on this SHDP scheme, and where faster and improved performance has been achieved with significant speed up. I have also given some recommendation for future works on this study. The parallel scheme can be implemented on multidimensional database system with tensor relational operations for tensor database implementation. The proposed scheme can be applied to tensor factorization for dynamic dataset with machine learning applications, especially for recommended systems. Also, the proposed scheme can be implemented as a programming library in other programming languages to utilize this scalable structure and dynamic partitioning on the parallel computation. So that was all about my presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions from the other participants? You can put in your chat box.
Sorry, sir.
Is there any question?
I guess, sir, there is no questions from
Okay.
participants. Can we move ahead?
I'll ask one.
Yeah, sure.
From,
Sorry, sir.
yes, Mr. Sajil.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you have reduced the dimension of data, that is n dimension to 2 dimensions.
Yes, sir.
And you are naming it as scalable.
Yes, sir. Scalable.
So you are scaling down and saying that it is scalable. Is it
Sorry, sir. Sir,
correct?
Sir, I didn't hear the last sentence.
Yeah. Hello.
Sir, again, sir, I didn't listen to the last sentence.
You are naming this algorithm proposition as a scalable Hadamard product, but you
Yes,
are scaling down to the 2 dimension.
Yes, sir. I am sir, scaling the dimensions, sir. In the
Dimension.
product operation, that I am scaling the carrier of the dimension, sir.
You are scaling down, na?
Yes, sir. Scaling down, sir.
So when we call it scalable, means we are the objective is to go on a higher side, not the reduction. So the name, I think, which you have given, scalable Hadamard product scheme.
Yes, sir.
So when you are scaling down, scalable, when you have to go on higher side, when you are changing dimension from lower to higher, then it's scalable. Can you justify this?
Yes, sir. Actually, sir, we are converting the dimension into low, but when we retrieve the data, we first take the higher dimension, then we will convert this to the
suppose I have stored this two-dimensional
data with the higher dimension.
No, I have this. You have not explained about the reverse process. If I have stored it in 2 dimensions, and I have to retrieve n dimension again, what will be the process?
So actually, sir, I haven't given an example, but sir, this is the retrieval process from the n dimensional.
This is also 2-dimensional shown.
We will, sir, first take the n-dimensional scheme. Then, yes, sir, this is 2-dimensional, sir. So I have converted this, but sir, when we will retrieve the data, first we
Yeah.
take the sir n-dimensional. We'll take the n-dimensional index. Then sir we'll convert
Okay.
this to n-dimensional and to two-dimensional using the sir pointers.
Hmm.
But we are sir we are working first with the n-dimensional.
Hmm. Hmm.
So therefore, sir, we always sir take first the n-dimensional. Therefore, sir, the model is not changed. Only sir retrieving process will be changed.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Next.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sarjil. And now we have our next presentation from Mr. Prateek Sharma, and his presentation is about hierarchical multi-label classification of news articles using RNN, CNN, and HAN.
So sorry everyone, I have a sore throat, a bit of sore throat, so my voice may not be clear at sometimes. So I'd like to share my screen.
Yes, Prateek, please go ahead.
So can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, good afternoon everyone. My name is Prateek Sharma. I'm the main author of this paper. Mr. Aman Sakya, Basantara Joshi, and Sanjay Prasad Pandey are co-authors of this paper.
You too can't open your video.
Sorry, sir. Just a moment.
And please make it full screen, na? So your PPT is
Yes,
not
sir.
in full screen mode.
Okay.
Yes.
Is it okay, sir?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the feedback. So, hierarchical multi-label classification of news articles using CNN, RNN, and HAN. So, first of all, what is a multi-label text classification? It's a single sample can be associated with multiple targets. So, we all are familiar with Sachin Tendulkar. Sachin Tendulkar scores yet another century. He is the greatest cricketing sportsman of all times of India. The article can be tagged with multiple labels such as Sachin Tendulkar, India, and cricket. However, if it was a multi-class classification, then there would have been a single class, either Sachin Tendulkar or India or cricket. So essentially, this is the difference between multi-class and multi-label. In case of multi-class, it can be, it's either only one of the class can be assigned as a as value 1, whereas in case of multi-label, multiple classes can be assigned as 1. I mean 1 indicating that sample lies in that class. So hierarchical multi-level text classification, which is the topic of this presentation. So let's look at the news again. Sachin Tendulkar scores again the same article, but it's in the hierarchy placed. So it's India sports cricket Sachin Tendulkar. So India being the biggest hierarchy, highest level of hierarchy, sports being the sub hierarchy, cricket being the child of sports, and Sachin Tendulkar being the child of cricket. Now, what are the objectives? The objectives is to perform hierarchical multi-level classification of news articles using different deep learning techniques, and to compare those results of deep learning techniques and see which one performs better. So literature review, the base paper for this article was of Simon et al., which I mentioned in the paper as in the conference article as well. That Simon Baker has used this for initializing hidden layer initialization for multi-level classification, which is based on the CNN architecture of Kim, and it was used for classification, multi-level classification of bio-NLP articles. Another one is Kurada, where it's initializing the neural network is different than Simon et al. And then Rongui had used attention XML, which was used for extreme multi-level text classification. And then again Rongui introduced another paper, which the first paper was a bit slow for the computation, the process. So they introduced a fast.
I think you can skip this part and tell us only the gaps if you have. Yeah.
Okay. So methodology with combination of CNN and RNN, the hierarchical multi-level news data set. So we have stop words was removed, words were tokenized, and word embedding was used of size 200. and then two-dimensional CNN with multiple feature widths and max pooling was applied. Whereas with HAN, the embedding layer was first used, and then stopwatch tokenization same as before. The only difference is that we applied HAN except in place of CNN. So the HAN applied word attention as well as sentence attention to the news articles. The maximum sequence length taken is 10. That means that every sentence will have a length of 10 words, and every maximum and every sentence and every article has maximum length of 50 sentences. So this is the methodology with HAN. So first there is input layer, then time distributed, then dropout layer, then bidirectional, batch normalization, which is used in order to to standardize the input, and then attention is used, and finally a dropout layer, and then dense layer. So this is the multi-level initialization, which was proposed by Simon et al. Baker, which is used in this paper as well. So if you see this Y1, Y3 are labels over here. The column names are actually the labels, and the rows represent those labels whose value is a certain whose values indicates that okay, this is the one that represents this article lies in this this class, or say this label. So how do we, so you can see over here omega. So actually omega over here is calculated using this formula, which is by √6 by root nh plus nk, where nh is the number of units in the final hidden layer and nk is the number of units in the output layer. The main motivation for this initialization is to include units in the hidden layer to be dedicated to represent co-occurrence of labels. So say for that Sachin Tendulkar article, if I take Sachin Tendulkar in India, then those two will be included as 1 and other labels will be included as 0. This is the modal hyperparameters. So word size is 200, filter size is 3, 4, and 5 in case of CNN, RNN, because we have primarily ventured into two structures, CNN and RNN, and another one is HAN. Number of filters 200 of each size, dropout probability is 0.5, batch size is 50. So in case of only CNN, we have done stratified sampling. So you can see the precision, recall, specificity, sensitivity, F1 score, and JCAD index is calculated like this in case of only CNN. In case of combination and CNN and RNN, it's a bit, it shows a slight improvement, about 1% improvement overall. So JCAD index and other things. And then in case of HAN, it shows the precision, recall, specificity like this. So these are the, so in terms of a bar chart, so these are the for strata 1, strata 2, and strata 3. So you can see the red belongs to HAN, which is a slight better than, which is better than CNN and combination of CNN and RNN. So what are the conclusion in future work? So compared to CNN, combination of CNN and RNN provides 1% improvement. HAN gave 3.35% improvement. And what are the future works? Data set taken is small. So the amount of data set that was taken was 1200 in size. That means that belonging to class, each label that was introduced had about 100 articles. So there were 12 labels for this. So that's why there are 1200 articles. So data set distribution is symmetrical. Now other architectures like transformer learning or other attention models like self-attention, etc. can be explored as well. And hierarchical similarity between labels can also be considered, which may provide better classification. These are my references. So this is the main reference, this Baker and initializing neural network for hierarchical multi-level test classification. Thank you.
Any question from the audience? Nothing? Okay. So you have done a multi-level class, but there are a lot many already works which has been done to classify multi-level text. You have not taken into consideration those contributions or compared anything. You've done randomly.
No, sir. Actually, the main, like I said, again, showing the references again, this is the main thing. This is the main paper, the Simon Baker one, which has hierarchical multi-level, which has done hierarchical multi-level classification. That means even for the multi-level, it makes it into a hierarchy. So say like in this context. So it describes the label in a hierarchy. So what we do is for the labels, we first of all, it does not automatically create a hierarchy, but we define a hierarchy in the training set, and then the execution occurs.
But then how these labels will be identified in the beginning?
So
You might have done it for sports data,
yes.
but if data is unknown, in that case?
Like if the data is unknown, so you mean that so if in the training data we introduce some new labels,
Yes.
okay, in that case, for that new case, so that is also included in the future work, like that can be extended, but that is one of the limitation of this paper, because the base paper for this has also done for only cancer articles and for exposure taxonomy. So it only includes the predefined labels over there.
Okay, next.
Thank you everyone.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Pratik. And our next presentation is from Mr. Soumitra Vatsal. This presentation is about green cloud computing oriented algorithmic approach based virtual machine consolidation.
Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon. Today I am going to present my research paper, which is titled Green Cloud Computing Oriented Algorithmic Approach Based Virtual Machine Consolidation. This paper primarily deals with an algorithmic approach capable of energy efficient virtual machine consolidation in a cloud computing environment. Proceeding further to the outline of this presentation. The slides are not changing. Okay, so this is the outline of this presentation.
The
Ma'am,
slide is not moving.
Ma'am, slides are not moving. Okay, so this is the outline of this presentation. Proceeding further. Well, cloud computing is formally defined as a model for enabling ubiquitous, convenient, on-demand networks access to a shared pool of configurable computing resources, example networks, servers, storage, applications, and services that can be rapidly provisioned and released with minimal management effort or service provider interaction. The following are the characteristics as given by NIST, which are responsible for the allurement of different enterprises in shifting their businesses to the cloud. To put it simply, cloud computing is a new paradigm of computing which has given us accessibility to tap the resources on a global basis at an uninterrupted pace. But researches are clearly indicative of the fact that the impact of cloud computing on the environment is significant and predominantly negative. Environmental conservation is under enhanced challenge posed by cloud computing activities. Carbon dioxide to the tune of 78.7 million metric tons is being pumped into the Earth's atmosphere from cloud computing activities. Cloud computing has a carbon signature equivalent to that of the aviation industry, that is 2% of the emissions. And it is estimated that in the upcoming years, that is by 2025, cloud computing will account for 5.5% of the planet's carbon emissions and will consume up to 20% of global electricity. These pie charts clearly show the breakup of carbon emissions of the ICT industry, and data centers are a major portion. As we can see in the past 1 decade, their share has increased considerably. Since cloud computing is greatly in demand, therefore, an energy efficient approach is the need of the hour. The underlying enabling technology in cloud computing is virtualization. Virtual machines perform cloud computing tasks. However, the basic fact is that cloud infrastructures are often underutilized. Underutilized servers consume a lot of resources and increase the cost of cloud services. The concept of virtual machine consolidation comes into the scene at this stage. Consolidation in terms of virtual machines means bringing them together. This technology helps in increasing the server utilization, and the problem of underutilized servers consuming energy in vain is solved. Thus, virtual machine consolidation is an important concept in green cloud computing, and the algorithmic approach in this research paper explores this very concept. Well, the algorithmic approach is based on bin packing. Now, bin packing is essentially a problem in which items of different volumes must be inputted into bins of fixed volume, keeping in mind that number of bins used should be minimized. On drawing parallels, bins are servers on which virtual machines are hosted, and virtual machines themselves are the items which are to be packed in these bins. Energy efficient virtual machine consolidation by bin packing ensures that maximum virtual machines are packed onto a server. The approach in this research paper uses the best fit approach to bin packing. The bin packing algorithm, which is best fit, places the next item in the bin with maximum loading and where the item fits. Virtual machines are identified by this algorithm on the basis of resource utilization requests in decreasing order. Each virtual machine is assigned to a host having smallest free capacity. The virtual machine's related resource utilization is fluctuating due to dynamic nature of workloads. The algorithm addresses virtual machine consolidation reinforced virtual machine placement. To ensure it, dynamic virtual machine consolidation approach is undertaken through optimization of virtual machine placement on the basis of present and future resource requirements. The results are relative to other approaches, that is, other variants of bin packing, which include modified best fit decreasing, modified first fit decreasing, and prediction aware strategies. Now, modified best fit decreasing MBFD algorithm proceeds by assigning a virtual machine to a host with least free capacity. It ensures that virtual machine and host related total used CPU capacity is less than total CPU utilization threshold. Modified first fit decreasing algorithm ensures that allocation of virtual machine is made for the first host, which exhibits host and virtual machine related CPU capacity to be less than total CPU utilization threshold. The other two strategies are prediction aware with regard to the utilization of host and virtual machines. The identification of optimal threshold value is indispensable to address trade-off among the data center related evaluation metrics. A high CPU threshold value causes enhanced performance degradation along with number of migrations, while low threshold value causes increased energy consumption. For estimating threshold value related impact on performance metrics, the threshold value ranges from 50% to 100% for evaluation purpose. The approach indicates that migration of virtual machines from least to most loaded host is designated as cold spots and hot spots respectively. The avoidance of SLA violations and needless migrations are also addressed by the aforesaid approach. Minimization of number of migrations and SLA violations both can be addressed if virtual machine consolidation method considers assigning of a virtual machine to a host on the basis of host-related future resource utilization. The decisions pertaining to virtual machine allocation and consolidation revamp the concept of creating a green cloud computing plan. A periodic maneuvering is exercised for consolidating virtual machines on a minimized number of physical machines, which ensures turning off the idle devices, thus ensuring minimization of energy consumption. The algorithmic approach addressed here is potentially more effective for securing not only minimization in energy consumption, but also simultaneously exhibiting less SLA violations and virtual machine migrations as compared to the other algorithmic approaches. So these are the references. Thank you.
I think you have not done any experimentation or simulation.
So the simulation was done on CloudSim toolkit.
So some kind of experimental scenario or results should have been explained. It is not included.
Okay, sir.
What kind of experimentation has been done? What parameters have been taken? How the how different virtual machines? What kind of heterogeneity, homogeneity you considered? Nothing has been. So you need to focus on those parts.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay, next.
Thank you so much, Mr. Soumitra Vatsal. And now our next presentation is from Ms. Tina Vats. Her paper is about a study to review and analyze the role of data mining in predicting the shopper's action. Hello, Ms. Tina.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, sir.
afternoon.
I'm
Good
Tina.
afternoon.
Just a minute, ma'am.
Yes.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Can you give me the permission for the recording?
You are playing recording or hello?
Hello?
Yes. Your presentation is visible.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, make this full screen.
Yeah, make it full screen.
My topic is a study to review and analysis the role of.
And your camera should be on while you are presenting.
Just a minute, sir. It's okay, sir.
Yes, also, ma'am, please make this slides full screen. It is at the bottom. It is at the bottom. You will find an option.
Okay.
Or press F5.
Ma'am, it's okay, ma'am.
No, it's not full screen now. Go to slideshow.
Go to slideshow on the top. Yes. First option. Very first option.
Record narration.
From beginning. That is very first option. From beginning. Click that. No, not that. In that tab, very first option, that is from beginning. Yes. Perfect. Please go ahead.
My topic is a study to review and analysis the role of data mining in predicting the shopper's actions. What is data mining? Data mining is a process that uncover the hidden fact, valuable information from the pool of data. Predictive analysis is a unique branch of data that is used to make proceed for the upcoming actions that are hidden. Predictive analysis uses numerous procedures like statistics, machine learning, and artificial intelligence for the prediction about the future. Accurate analysis for the current data and situation help to forecasting for the future. For prediction analysis, we must track continue of the discontinuity of the change in market. This is the process of data mining. First, we extract the data from the raw data. Raw data, it maybe we collect the data from the files, archive data from data warehouse. We can collect, we have the various way to collect the data. Then we clean the data. Cleaning means we just removing the duplicacy and inconsistent data and make a table. We store the data in multi-dimensional way. Then we make a pattern for the knowledge discovery. Then we achieve a hidden data from the pool of data. Transformation of customer from traditional shopping to e-commerce. First, before decades, customer has go to market for the shopping. He has to spend time in market in cause of physical tiredness. But these days, shopping is an easy task like mood freshener as compared to tiredness. E-shopping takes the place of traditional shopping. There is no need spending many hours in physical market. Now a customer just relax and shop sit to a chair, just check the sale and discount virtual market with the help of e-commerce. This is the best example for the e-commerce and traditional shopping. Uh, Meaning of customer. Customer is a person who make purchase goods or services which he desire from the market. The consumer make a purchase decision of goods services after going through a number of alternatives present in the market. He decides which goods or services best suit in his need and then goes for the purchase. Buying behavior of customer is nothing but decision making process or acts that involve in buying and uses of purchases goods. Buying behavior of the customer is influenced by many factors such as company marketing strategies in attracting customers and influence them such a way that the customer goes for the purchase of goods or services that the company. Customer behavior. The study of consumers behavior include learning of person, a group of organization. This process learn the buying habits of customer and learn his her needs, society, financial condition, friends, circle, choose choose the factor that affect the customers at the time of shopping. These are few: need of customer, society of customer, desire of customer, financial condition of customer, education of customer, age of customer, designation of customer. These are the factors that influence the consumer behavior. These are the cultural, social, personal, psychological, or buyer. Cultural include the cultural, social classes, social references group, family, personal age, education, economic condition, lifestyle, environment, psychological motivation, preference, learning, attitude, then buy the factor which are responsible for growth. The e-commerce, a significant user of internet in India, comparatively low according to survey. Users of internet in 2016 is about 3 342.6 million, in slightly up in 2017 it is about the 4 to 2.2 million, but suddenly in 2019 it is increased fast, it about the 336.7 due to corona. Five major factors that drive the online market. These are the following: localization of internet content, growth in cities beyond metros, growth mobile commerce, growth uses of debit cards, cashless transactions, growth investment in logistic data warehouse. Methodology for the analysis of customer behavior. Data mining mostly use of various type of business consumers is the main component of the supply chain. Selling of any product, data mining used various methods to understand the customer's buying behavior. Every activate activity performance and end user like consumers way spend which day and what time usually she goes the shopping, this which type of item they buy, mostly frequently in quantity of purchasing. Various applications are used for analysis the consumer behavior like marketing strategies, public policies, social marketing, common sense. Research methodology. First, we collect the data, then we filtering them. Filtering means cleaning the data, applying the data mining algorithm. We have various type of algorithm we can use according to our data. Analysis the data. Then we analyze the data or result interpretation. Interpretation means we refine the results. How to solve mining problem by using the association rule. We can use the association rule by finding the mining problem. Just like we have two factors. First is confidential factor. Second is the support factor. Confidential factor, when the support factor greater than equal to minimum support and confidence greater than equal to minimum support, where minimum support and minimum confidence is equivalent support and confidence. Association mining adopt various frequent policies that come difficulty in two parts. First is frequent item set. Frequent items are those items that occur in transaction that item are collectively frequently. Rule generation. Mine the confidence rule in frequent item set that is collect strong rules. Frequent item set generation. All rows in the below corresponding to the transaction that have transaction unique ID that show the transaction unique ID and the set of objects that buy the buyers. This is the example. This is the example.
Sorry to
Unique.
interrupt you, ma'am, but one last minute left for your presentation.
Pardon me.
Sorry to interrupt, but one last minute left for your presentation.
Okay, ma'am. This is a transaction. We just say your transaction ID. This is the 1, 2, 3. We are collecting the or sold. These are the transaction means first transaction ID. We are purchasing pizza, base ketchups. These are the by using these transaction we are making association rule. Just S means support factor, X plus Y. We are when we finding the association support factor is 3/5 and confidence factor is the 3/3 means it's 1. We are using two. We can use any kind of algorithm in a but we are preferable is Apari algorithm and elite algorithm. Apari algorithm is best for the small data set, but elite is used the best for search. But the elite algorithm is used the small big data set. When we have used data set, we can use elite, but it's the best joining result we get by joining these two algorithms. Summary and conclusion. This study helped to reader to understand the association customers at online shopping association and describe the major factors that affect the customer behavior and they change their choices. This paper describes the factor that lead the growth. Online marketing means those factors that are responsible for the boost online marketing, which are the top on the online grocery. The conclusion of this study is useful to solve the market problem, describe the relationship between data mining and the CRM, data mining and trading out, and taking out and data mining and consumer behavior, and describe how are the changing these choose from the another item set to satisfy our own need. These are the references and thank you.
I think you have not done any kind of experimentation or simulation or other thing. Only theoretical concept you have presented.
Yes, sir. This because it's a review
Review
paper.
paper.
Yes, sir. Sir, can I take a peek?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Thank you so much, Ms. Tina. Our next presentation is from P. Muthu Krishna Amal. Her presentation is about velvets and convolutional neural
Thank you,
networks based on automatic segmentation and prediction of MRI brain images. And I guess she is not available, sir. So we are moving ahead with our next presentation, which is from Mr. S. Raja Prabhu. And this presentation is about enhanced security of Windows executables for intelligent systems.
So, good afternoon, sir, and good afternoon, ma'am. Am I visible?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. So I'll share my screen now. So, ma'am, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
So with your permission, I'll start my presentation, sir. My research topic is enhanced security of Windows executables for intelligent systems. Before that, a little introduction of mine. I am S. Rajaprabha. I am a serving Indian Air Force officer. with 20 years of experience. And presently, I'm on study leave and doing my MTech in cybersecurity from National Forensic Sciences University. And Dr. Animesh Kumar Agarwal, he is my guide for this paper, and he is also a retired Indian Air Force officer. While in Air Force, last 5 years, I was working on malware analysis and reverse engineering. So I had analyzed quite some samples which are used for kind of espionage, that type of things and all. But whenever I work on malware, I'm kind of amazed at the technologies that is being used in malware. It has got a lot of features, and even sophisticated antivirus softwares, Windows Defender, sometimes will not be able to capture the malware. That is the kind of technology and sophistication that is available in this malware. So that made me thinking, why can't we learn from the malware and use it to secure our actual authentic applications, the Windows applications? So that is the idea for starting of this project. So here the idea is any Windows application, it may be kind of MS Word, MS Presentation, or any kind of executable files, .exe files. So how to enhance the security of this Windows executable, that is the idea for this research. So while working on this research, I'd gone through quite some papers, the literature review I've carried out, but unfortunately, not many papers speaks about this particular aspect of how to kind of utilize the malware technologies and to enhance this thing. But there are some websites which is available from shady sites, I would say, there how this kind of technology is being applied by the hackers, that is available. So it's a kind of mix of both bad and good, and I've mixed it up and come up with this thing. But before that thing, there are still some existing utilities that are available. For example, one is AppLocker, which is created by Microsoft, but it is a paid version. It comes with only the enterprise edition. So obviously, normal people, MSMEs and academic institutions, they will not be able to buy it for their wide usage. There are some other softwares like Lock.exe, FreeEXE Lock, these are available. These are freeware, but not open source. These are closed source. So what is it doing behind the scenes, we are not aware. Like recently, there are a lot of talks happening on WhatsApp and other Facebook, that type of things. So what it is doing behind the scenes, we don't know. We need something which we can trust, and preferably it's a open source. So how I went about it, I'll discuss in the methodology, but before discussing the methodology, there are some prerequisites which is required for understanding this concept. One is reverse engineering, how to take a executable, dissect it into kind of assembly instructions, understand the assembly, see what is available inside, especially the Windows API functions which is available inside, and how to make use of it for our own purposes. Second is the portable executable. It follows a predefined format as far as the Windows is concerned. So to understand the portable executable format is another prerequisite for undertaking this project. And third is the code cave. Here we would be talking about the code cave technique. There are multiple techniques which I'll be speaking later, but here what we are speaking is about the code cave technique. Code cave is nothing but empty spaces which is available inside the PE file on different sections. So we would be using this thing to leverage for our requirements. And finally, code injection. This is the technique where what we do is inside the PE format, the format which we had seen earlier, there is something called address of entry point. So what happens is whenever a executable file is being loaded by Windows operating system, it automatically goes to the address of entry point. So now this address of entry point tells where exactly the program is starting. And the program always is available in the .text section. So the computer knows where to go and load the program and execute it. But in code injection technique, what we will do is we will go and change the address of entry point and direct it towards the code cave where we will be having our own instructions. And once our instructions are finished, then it will be coming to the original program. Then the original program starts. So this code injection is the basic technology that we would be using in this thing. Now, having understood all the prerequisites, this is the methodology. So first thing is we have to select a target application. Now, all the applications may not be applicable for this type of thing, basically because we need to have some sufficient amount of code cave, the empty spaces that is available. So we have to select the target application one. And after selecting the target application, we have to kind of reverse engineer the target application, go to the point where this address of entry point is available, and also find out the code cave where we can write our own instructions. After identifying these two things, we can go to the code cave, write our password authentication mechanism, in assembly language. Here we have to deal with the assembly language only. We have to write it in assembly language. Then to enhance the security of this particular codes what we are writing, here what I've done is understand the technology which is available in different malware. So take that malware techniques, code that malware techniques in the code case so that to enhance the security of our executables. And after that, you save the program, modify it, and we can use it. So now coming to the results, some of the experimentation which I've carried out in this thing is I've taken one simple application, IID King. Basically, this is used by any kind of reverse engineer, that type of people. So this is a simple application which is used for kind of DLL injection. So now after introducing my code cave into the thing, so inside the code cave, I have written the password authentication mechanism. After that thing, if I execute the program, it will be opening up a window where it will be asking for a password. So for example, in this thing, I had given a wrong password. And now the application pops up a message, it is a wrong password and it will not allow me to run the program. But instead, if I give a correct password, now in this case, the password is pass@123. So the password is correct. So once the password is authenticated, then the actual program would be running. So this is the way this program is designed to function. This code injection is designed to function. But still there is an issue. Now, if somebody is able to kind of disassemble and see the program inside, he will be able to see the plain text password. So here the right password is pass@123, but the person would be able to see this thing. So we have to kind of encode it. So I've taken this normal XOR technique from the malware and XORed it with some keyword which we can choose at the time of designing. So now the password is encoded. So even if somebody is trying to disassemble the thing or view it in XAssembly, he would not be getting the exact password. So it is a one kind of protection.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir, but
Yes.
one last minute left for your presentation.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you. And now how to stop somebody from debugging the program. So there is another technique which I've taken from the malware and introduced into this thing. So now if somebody is trying to debug the program, it will the program will automatically detect and it will exit the program. So the kind of anti-debugging protection that is also inbuilt into this thing. So whatever I explained, I try to put it here in the single slide with different pictures with different security enhancements. Now the future work as far as is concerned, now this particular work what I've done is basically for 32-bit operating system. We have to enhance it to 64-bit operating system, because when it comes to 64-bit operating system, that way the assembly works is little bit different, not difficult, sorry, it is different. So we have to go for 64-bit operating system. And second thing is in code cave, the code cave size would be different for different applications. So I told in the initial thing, it will not be applicable for all the applications. But in that case, what we can do is we can add a new section to the existing PE and we can write any amount of instructions into that thing. So that is one way of enhancing this work to the next level. But still there is a better alternative where we can have a kind of DLL injection method. Till now we have discussed about the code injection method. The next method is DLL injection, where we can have a DLL file and we can act the DLL file to the already existing portable executable. In this, the advantage is the DLL file can be written in any language, need not be assembly language. It can be written in any higher level language also. So it would be much more user friendly. And finally, the best option I would say is a web-based hybrid application. So here our target applications are desktop applications, but we know all the malware, it speaks to some command and control server outside on the internet. So we can have that type of mechanisms where we can have a desktop application, but this particular security enhancement part that will be speaking to a remote server, and from that we can do authentication, accounting, and all the other aspects of this thing. So it will be a kind of hybrid application. So these are the some ideas for the future work. So screen is not. So with this, I've come to the end of this presentation. I would take any questions if you have. So.
Yeah, actually you have done two things. Just edited your replace your password by some encrypted one.
Yes, sir.
And that is a already there are anti-virus solutions. Have you gone through what those antivirus software is doing, or how they are protecting?
Yes, sir. Antivirus predominantly it protects any applications by signature matching, and some antivirus they have the behavioral matching also, but that is basically to stop the malicious applications, sir. Here the idea is not about the malicious applications. Here we are speaking about the authentic, genuine applications. It may be any applications of our use. Some critical applications to run a power plant, some critical applications to have our own SCADA running, that type of applications. How to secure that application, that is the idea here. So in malware technology, there is something called backdooring. So some of the malicious malware bot, it does this. It takes an authentic application and puts a backdoor into this thing. So it is the similar kind of technique what we are discussing, but instead of a malicious backdoor, we are having a password authentication mechanism. And though I have discussed only two things like the XR password authentication and one anti-debugging measure, there are multiple things that is available. Almost some 15 kind of anti-debugging measures I've already analyzed. So we could, based on the requirement and based on the level of security we need, we could go for any kind of authentication, security enhancements.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
So as our each and every presentation is over, so moving ahead with closing remarks, I sincerely thank our authors for their excellent presentation in this session and all other participants for being a part of this international conference. I hope this session was informative enough. All the presenters would be getting the digital certificates through email within 2 working days, and further all the papers have already forwarded to Springer. The publication will be live within 5 to 6 months. So kindly cooperate with the team of ICT-IAS and 2021. And I also thank our session chair, Dr. Mahesh Mundele, for chairing the session. A token of appreciation to the chair on behalf of Team ICT-IAS 2021 and Global Knowledge Research Foundation. Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable presence.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, yes, sir. So at last, I will request you all to on the camera so we can take a quick snapshot for our virtual conference. Great. Thank you so much, everyone. Goodbye. Stay safe and take
Thank
care.
you.
Goodbye, sir.
Bye. Bye.